to African Teapot Podcast. My name is Exie and I'm your host. Journey with me through Africa's vast variety of culture, heritage, and discuss issues most African families face, both home and abroad. Make sure you add this podcast to your frequent podcast rotations and don't forget to share and follow this podcast. Hello listeners, and thank you for tuning in to our first episode on African Teapot. And the episode today is titled My African Pride. Before we get into our topic for today, I hope everyone did have a wonderful weekend and we are all looking forward to the new week. I know there is a lot going on out there, but we just have to stay positive and believe and hope that it's going to be okay. 2020 is, it's a year that is going to make us come out on the other side stronger. That being said, I'm going to start off with a little story. So a few years ago, I was invited to a Lebote party. It was like a Lebote weekend, and they were having barbecue and, the usual stuff going on for a Lebote weekend for, college kids. So I went out there. I was invited by a fellow American student and classmate of mine, and we had hung out a couple of times before this, and everything is cool, and this is not a sad story or anything. It's just a story behind why I chose today's episode to be My African Pride. So we get to the party, and I'm being introduced to the other students and friends in there. I did know some people and some I did not know. So he took it upon himself, to go ahead and introduce me and all of that, which was cool. So he went ahead, meet X being me. She's ABCD. We have this professor in common, or we studied this, and she's African. Somehow in there, the conversation of me being African pops up, which is expected because I have an accent and everything. So I have an African accent. So this went on for a couple of friends that he did introduce me to, which is cool, fine. I'm not offended. It's fine. It's okay. I'm African. Till there was a friend of his that was rather interested, to know a little bit more. And I could tell this person had a little bit of background in knowing that I should come from a place more than just Africa, right? So she went ahead and said, "Oh, you're from Africa. Where exactly from Africa are you coming from?" She was curious, like, okay, you say African, so what else? And he was doing the introduction and he paused. I realized there was hesitation and he looked rather confused and puzzled. And I thought to myself, why aren't you telling her I'm from Cameroon? Because you could tell since he was doing the introduction, he was saying, "Oh, I'm A, B, C, D," she just happened to ask. And since you were talking, why did you stop talking? So I jumped in and I just said, "Oh, I'm from Cameroon, actually." And she said, "Oh, I didn't mean to be rude. I wonder why, he didn't respond to it." I said, "I'm surprised he doesn't remember." And what he told me, or the answer he gave me, was at the time, I did not tell him anything about myself other than the fact that I'm from Africa. I did not, continue to pressure him or anything like that during the party. But after that, I told him I did not appreciate you saying that. Because when I met you or we met each other, I can remember you're from Chicago. I can remember what you said about your family and stuff. And that's why I ask about Chicago when I'm speaking to you. I told you the same thing. There is no way I just left the conversation at, I am African. And mind you guys, at this time, we've known each other for 3 years already at the time of this, incident. So I'm thinking, so for 3 years, are you trying to tell me in all our conversation, the only thing I've said about myself is I am African? And then obviously, the rest, which is school stuff and me being a student just like you. I asked him, is that believable? Do you believe yourself when you say that? And he immediately apologized. And fast forward to today, if when we meet up or or whatever, or we're hanging out, he usually makes reference to this story and we laugh about it and it's fine. But because of that incident, I know that there are other Africans or generally people from other countries or areas that people are not versed with. When you travel to another country, sometimes people tend to overlook where you come from, or overlook pretty much, they overlook where you come from and they just concentrate on the now. But just in general, whoever you see is more than what you're seeing in the present. That person has a past, that person has roots, and it's polite to ask, hey, I want to know more about where you're coming from because I've never been there. Or you're the first person from your country, and is it okay for you to tell me a little bit more about your life over there? Like, what's different between being there and here? It's okay, guys, to be curious about where I'm coming from, rather than thinking and then it ends up being more insulting that you're not aware of where I'm coming from. Hopefully that makes some sense, but I thought I should share that. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into some fun facts of Africa, just so that when you're speaking to someone or meet someone, you're not that empty or confused, or not empty or confused, but unaware of what Africa is all about. Getting into the fun facts of Africa, I thought I should just put this out there. There is a lot to our history. There's a lot to us than us just being the continent of poverty, the continent where slaves came from, and pretty much the continent where the Western powers had to come and acquire us or something. We had to be overseas territories for the mother countries from the Western world for us to survive or something like that. That narrative is wrong, in as much as that is part of our history, but that is not just what or who we are. So this segment is just so that there is something bigger out there. There is something other than just that sad narrative about Africa. When people see you, that's not all that they remember. They can also remember some fun things. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start right from the name. The ancient name of Africa was Alkebulan, and that means the mother of mankind. That is spelled Alkebulan. Most people don't know this, including Africans themselves. They are not aware. You can check on that and you can do more research on it. But that is one of the fun facts of Africa. And then the oldest civilization, oldest history in the world started from Egypt. It's in Egypt. It's Egypt. And Egypt is in Africa, guys. So yes, that's one other thing that people fail to understand. And before the Western powers came in there for acquisition of Africa, and before slave trade, we had trade already established and going on in Africa. We traded in tobacco, gold, copper, spices, ebony, and skin. And Africa had three religions, or still has three religions, main religions going on there. We have the African traditional religion, Christianity, and Islam. And then 1,500 to 2,000 languages are spoken in Africa. And the ones that the UN recognize, so this would be information the UN recognizes. And what we mean by this is the languages that they recognize that each country should be using one of these languages in conducting their trade, in conducting their business, in conducting their documentations, okay? So the major ones, or the most popular ones, are the ones I'm going to mention. That would be Arabic, English, French, Swahili, Portuguese, and Spanish. You have a lot more, but this is just to let you understand why typical African will most often than not speak more than one language. I didn't say all, I said most Africans, all right? Just to let you know that. And as of 2018, Africa, I would mention, is a continent, not as of 2018, but it's a continent on its own. And then as of 2018, it has 54 independent countries in it, with a population of 1.3 billion people, making it the second largest continent in the world and the second most populated continent in the world. Some other fun facts are the longest river in the world, the River Nile, is found in Africa. and it stretches 4,258 miles across 11 countries. The oldest university, which is the University of Caravine, hopefully I'm saying that right, meaning Athens of Africa, is in Morocco. The richest man in the world to have lived is Mansa Musa, the 10th emperor of the Mali Empire. And at his time of death in 1937, his wealth was estimated to be between 300 billion to 400 billion. And this is adjusted in the US dollar as of 2000. You know, who talks about that? You don't hear about that. Did you also know that the world's largest hot desert is the Sahara? Madagascar is the largest island in Africa. The largest animal is the elephant in Africa. The tallest animal is the giraffe, all found in Africa. And then the fastest land animal in the world, this was amazing when I found out, is the cheetah that runs 96.5 kilometers an hour. And this was recorded in 2012. And the name of the cheetah was Sarah. Beat that, guys. That was really exciting for me to find out. And the highest bungee jump in the world, which I didn't know, is in South Africa. And the list goes on, but this is just to name a few. And the fruits are the most eaten food in Africa. Watermelon, banana, apricot, coconut, mangoes, we can go on. Vegetables are highly eaten in Africa, both root vegetables and leafy vegetables. And we are known for our exotic spices. Some of the common meals that would be jollof rice, it's going to be chapati, ugali, fufu. This is just to name a few. So if you mention this to an African, they go, oh yeah, he knows where I'm coming from, or he's aware, or where you are coming from, or you are aware. So this is just a little bit. This is just to scratch the surface. And hopefully as we continue, more things about Africa will be known. Conversations, obviously we're gonna cover a lot more, but that brings me to the end of this episode. And just to mention, on our Instagram page, which is African_teapot, we're gonna have post up there letting you know what the next episode is going to be about, so we can take your questions or any contributions you may have. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, and hope you join me for the next episode. You can always reach us via email at africanteapot@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at African_teapot.